Welcome to Summer in October. I'm Alex, and we are continuing with this VHS franchise ranking where I go through each of the installments and rank my favorite segments. All the segments, but I'll tell you my favorites. Today is VHS 85. I'm going to definitely say spoilers, and I'm going to give you a quick overall review and then rank my favorites. We have the Beyond left and Halloween. At this point, I haven't watched the Halloween one yet. I'm waiting for the perfect setting. And if I sound out of breath and I look sweaty, I just filmed a reaction to Puppet Master, and me and Shadow went for a walk because it's a beautiful autumn day. We're having a heat wave here. I did not know. I had a very big sweater on, I have huge jeans on, and I walked for an hour in direct sunlight. So overall, I think VHS 85 is a really good installment. I think it's definitely my top. I will rank them all when I watch the new one, but even the frame narrative is pretty strong, which has been rare for these movies, but I actually really liked it. I'll go over everything I love, but this one is a pretty solid one. So if you're looking for one that you're not going to get bored with or turned off by, I definitely think this is a good intro if you want to take it. One thing about this though, there's a couple segments in here that made me a little bit emotional. Like there were times when things felt really real in an uncomfortable way, and often I can get lost in horror. And yes, I do get emotional, you guys see me, but I don't feel it. Like I don't feel that type of way. I can't describe it. When we get to that one, I'll explain, and it's probably due to certain things, so we'll get into it. I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite, but I want to make clear, even my least favorite, I still actually liked it, and that is God of Death. This was written and directed by Gigi Saul Guerrero. So basically, we are watching a newscast. Things seem kind of normal, and at first I thought this was going to be like a Ratma kind of situation, but then we have an earthquake. And things change because the building crumbles. This is part of one thing that made me really stressed out. I think that was the right word. It wasn't making me emotional, it was giving me anxiety. That's what I was trying to look for. Yes, this installment of the franchise gave me anxiety a few times, and this was one of them. Because the first part of this, we are just following a group of survivors and rescue teams trying to navigate their way out of a collapsing building after an earthquake. It is terrifying. Everybody looks scared. They are having to do mercy killings. Like, things are very unsettling. Nothing feels horror. It feels very real in a way, and it just gave me so much anxiety. But there was one part where I think one of the guys was farting and they all started laughing, but it was charming to have that moment because it's so realistic. Like, even in really serious situations, you find some levity there. So I'm already kind of claustrophobic, and they have a second tremor or an aftershock, and more things happen. And one of the guys who is in the rescue team, he is injured bad. He is gonna die, and he asks for a mercy killing. And they let one of the girls who's very distraught, I don't really know what the relationship is, but she's very distraught about this, and I get maybe it's to honor him that she does it, but I don't know. She seemed like a wreck after. I don't know if it was the best move, but that had me very emotional. And obviously I knew this had to get a horror element, or it was more of like a replay on like the real suffering of the world, which I was not interested in watching. And we do get to a horror element because they come down to this underground temple, and there is a god, and people are getting possessed. And I mean, there is some good gore here, but I will say it just kind of felt disjointed to me. I couldn't get invested in it. I couldn't get immersed. Like, we hear some weird screeching, which was freaking me out, and then we have like a crowbar gutting scene. The one really cool part in this is she is kind of possessed, I think, and she grabs Louis, I think his name is, his heart, and pulls it out, and it looks gruesome and cool, but it felt too disjointed. Like, I just could not get immersed. After everything I was feeling, this was going to then switch gears, but my brain just couldn't do it. I don't know how to explain that to you guys, but I just couldn't fall in love with this one. And by the way, I do rank the frame rate in this, so there's going to be 6. There are 2 that are interestingly connected, but we'll get to those. My 5th one is TKN OGD. I think it's like Techno God. I think it's what that's supposed to be, so that's what I'm going to call it, Techno God. So it was directed by Natasha Kermani and written by Zoe Cooper. This one I thought was really fascinating and really cool. We have this performance artist, and she is speaking about how we've abandoned I'll give you my interpretation. We abandoned our nature. She is really specifically talking about religion, but for me, I was like, yes, this is so real. We've abandoned our nature and some of our humanity for, the techno world. And she's basically saying, like, we all give so much attention to this techno world, but is there even a God in here? Like, we are ruled by what? Kind of almost mocking it in a way. And she's using iPhones, which is so funny, that it's like a VR headset and techno gloves. So you can really put your senses into this world. And she's showing it on screen. And I mean, it is so reminiscent of like old video games. It almost feels like Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. So it was a lot of fun to watch that. But she starts making these calls and like she is kind of chanting. So I don't know if anything has ever appeared before because I also have never really experienced performance art, so I don't really know where it was meant to go if it wasn't going to turn into chaos. But the audience is just watching, and some of them kind of seem like they're getting a little bit bored or a little bit like, what is going on? And then she starts to panic because we hear things, and we get this like serpent, Medusa, almost like demon in the techno realm. But because she's reaching in and touching it, it can touch her. And it gets freaky really quick. I mean, it is ripping her apart, like physically ripping her apart. It rips her legs off, her hand. It is gnarly. It is gross. She is screaming, and people are watching, and I'm like, you must know this is not part of the performance. But then I question, like, if I was watching an artist do something, would I think right away that this wasn't some kind of effect? Like, I don't know. I don't know how believable it was for me, but I also don't care because it looked really cool. And I mean, she's also in the air, and when she's on the ground, like bleeding out and it's over, they've seen all this on screen. They've seen her be like torn to pieces. The camera guy goes in and checks her, and when he lifts up her iPhones, her eyes are just like burnt, like her skull is burnt down past her eyes, and her eyes are just bulging. But the audience still thinks it's a performance and they're clapping. I thought it was just really cool. I liked the commentary. I liked the vibes. I thought it was really creative. And the fact that they put it as a performance art and not just someone playing VR gave it that little extra bit of eeriness that I like. The next ones, so in fourth and third place, they are connected. So I'm going to order them in a certain way. And the first one is No Wake. So this was written and directed by Mike P. Nelson. And this is another one that gave me a lot of anxiety. I think it's just because the gun scenes and the terror they were feeling just felt a little bit too real. And I don't know, like usually I can handle little bits of that. Maybe it's because it's found footage that it gets to me a little bit more. Maybe that's what it is, but it was giving me anxiety. And maybe I was just anxious that day. It happens. But there's a group of kids and teenagers, I would say college students. I don't know. First I thought it was going to be like a summer slasher. That's kind of how it felt. And they go to this lake. A couple friends stay behind, and the other ones go out water skiing. So they're in the water, and someone just starts shooting them from shore. And it is, again, just a lot of anxiety. Like, the first girl is a sweetheart, and, like, you can kind of see a budding romance happening. And she finally gets the water skis. Like, she finally stands up and does it, and she just drops. And that's when it all happens. And it is just really disturbing. It was really unsettling. But it lingers when this all happens. And I mean, like, some of them have their brains gone, their jaw gone, but they basically reanimate. They just come back to life. They don't feel any pain. They say they feel the best they ever had. And they go back to the tent. Their friends are also gone, but they have not reanimated. So then they start to piece together that it must be the water. And there were signs like saying don't swim and all this stuff, but they were recording the whole time. So they say, we know that we can, capture who did this to us. And then it ends. Without knowing that it connects to another one, it was kind of like, okay, like cool concept, but where does it go? I didn't like that it was on the anxiety and not on the result, but we do get a payoff in the next one that I'm going to rank. And I'm not going to say this right. Ambrosia? I don't know how to say that. This one is also written and directed by Mike P. Nelson, and it ties right back into this. So we see this girl, I believe her name is Ruby. No, it's Ruth. We see this girl, Ruth, and there's like a party. It was giving me society vibes, like culty. They were celebrating something, but you weren't quite sure what. As she's getting ready, she has to go grab something, and this kid that's at the party comes up and shoots her with a water gun. Then we remember the first time I didn't catch this, the second time watching I did. They had this water gun filled with alcohol on their trip in No Wake. So we see their camper van drive away. So if you remember it from No Wake, or on your second time watching, you realize that it was filled with the water. So she was shot with this, which means she's going to be kept alive, immortalized. When they did that too, I was like, but why? I couldn't remember. I was like, why is that a good thing? We find out it's called like the Seven, the celebration or the cult, whatever's going on. Everybody in the family, to become like initiated or when they reach a certain age, have to kill 7 people in their own way. And the way that they're smiling and laughing, it is disturbing. And I am like, you guys suck. You guys suck. The cops come because they called the cops, the kids, or they found out whatever happened. The cops come, they're busted. They're watching a video of it. It's the first time they have a VHS to watch it. They were having way too much fun, so I'm glad the cops, destroyed the party. But this family came prepared. They knew one day it was going to come to this. So they are armed. It is like a gun show. They are telling Ruth, don't let them take you alive. And she is killed. She tries to do it herself. She keeps coming back, which is the perfect revenge because now she has to face the consequences of what she did because they got her with the water. I think as like a full story, it's kind of perfect. It makes me wonder why this wasn't the frame rate because it was spaced out and then we also have a frame rate in the middle. For me, I think it would have worked better as the frame narrative. And then the total copy, which is the frame narrative, which we're going to talk about in a second, was a standalone. And when I said talk about in a second, I meant it because my second favorite is Total Copy. So this is the frame narrative and is directed by David Bruckner and written by Evan Dickinson. Frame narratives rarely are high on my list. This is my second, okay? The first time I watched it, I didn't love it as much. But the second time I watched it, it was after I've watched The Thing, The Blob, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, even like Stranger Things. I just start to see so much more references here, and especially it being in the 85 VHS, I think it's great. They have this creature alien thing, and they're studying it. And there's a really good commentary here because it's kind of a documentary, kind of in The Office, kind of a interview because they're trying to figure out what went wrong because it goes terribly wrong. We kind of know that's going to happen. And we see that this guy gets obsessed with we're communicating. It's understanding us. It knows us. And I think it's a really good commentary where you lose sight of what you're supposed to be doing, especially if it's objective. And you start seeing what you want to see, believing what you want to believe. It's like people who think that they could pet the bear and the bear will be like, oh, she's a nice girl. I won't eat her. I'm saying that because that's me. I believe that, but I know it would probably eat me. It's that kind of mindset. So it's like this alien that morphs, melds, kind of like a Ditto is what I would describe it. A Ditto means a Demogorgon. It transforms and molds itself. So it starts turning into one of their coworkers, Gary, I believe. And he's getting disturbed. He's like, why is it doing that? And they're showing it all sorts of TV, trying to teach it things, trying to get it to communicate. I think it becomes stagnant or something happens. So they want to give it adrenaline. If you watch Brain Dead or Dead Alive, you know. And that's when things go crazy. It has like these pincer hooks on like a tail. And this is very The Thing, like it's wrapping around people and pulling people and destroying people. And first they're trying to save Gary. Like it's still in the room and they're holding Gary and they're trying to like pull him. Comes to a point where he's holding him and he just says, F it, let him go. And they let him go. And then they're running and it is taking people left, right, and center. It is scary. What I liked was they got to the door where they had to give like their handprint or their fingerprint and his hand was covered in blood and it wouldn't work. And I was like, this is such a good way for it not to work. I love that. Instead of it just being like, oh, will not happen, will not work. But the camera guy is the last one to get taken. And what happens to him is he's still holding the camera as the thing wraps itself around him and drags him away. So it's just a really cool scene. It's very Stranger Things in the laboratory. And then it ends, which I also think is a neat commentary, because they were making it watch like 80s workout videos. It is taking all the bodies it collected with its little tentacle things and making them do the movements. So it's like, yeah, it was actually understanding you. And maybe this is a form of communication, but it's still not in the way you want it to. It's not a friend. Like, you don't know what you're dealing with. So I really like this one, but I definitely think it could have been just one. I don't think it needed to be the frame narrative. I feel like No Wake and its counterpart should have been the frame narrative, and Total Copy should have just been one. My number one is Dreamkill. Hold up. Dreamkill was written by Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill, did I say that? And directed by Scott Derrickson, but it's based on Joe Hill's book, The Black Phone. Based on Joe Hill's book, The Black Phone sequel from 20th Century Ghosts. Really? I haven't watched Black Phone yet. I'm watching it this week, interestingly enough. And now I really want to read the book. Okay, I really like that one, so this is a good sign. So what happens is we are watching videotapes of gruesome killings. There feels like a lot of references. Like, you definitely get Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You definitely get Halloween. You get lots of references in here. And it's very gritty, very like grindhouse kind of film style, I would say. I'm still not quite clear if I understand that, so if it's not, leave me alone. It's a gritty videotape. It is disturbing. But what comes to be is the detective is getting these like a week before it happens. Someone is sending him these tapes before it happens. And I'm like, what? How do you do that? How do you do that? And so this repeats a few times with some really gnarly kills. Again, it's a little bit too on the nose because it's kind of crime, right? So anxiety. They track down this kid, this goth punk kid who is putting it in the mailboxes. And he tries to explain, I have a camera, like I got it, my dad got it for me, and it's been recording my dreams. You know, sometimes it's been good things, little things, but lately it's been bad, so I've been sending them to you. And I'm like, hold on a minute. And then we just kind of get like this Inception, I would say, almost moment where he's still in the interrogation room because they're not getting answers from him. And his dad is actually on the police force, I think. He's working with them. I don't know if I think he's like the forensic videographer or something. Maybe I messed that up, but he's not at all the crime scenes. They go to the last house because they actually could tell from that tape where it would be. And the detective takes him, and he was being suspicious the whole time, and it's the guy's dad. Like, you could kind of see where this was gonna go. The fact that this detective was suspicious and saw how gruesome these kills were and chose to drive to the next one with this guy and give him the benefit of the doubt to come clean, this is not good for your job. You should know better than that. Because he's like, you know these people, they have a case against you, and of course, he kills them, and the dream continues. But as he's in the interrogation room, the goth kid, the child, he is having a dream and it's being recorded. And so when his dad comes in to confront him, he says, I've already seen everything. I know how it's going to end. And then we get to see it. And sometimes it goes back and forth, which I think is so cool. But then it's like this action scene, but it still ups the gore. Like, the gore and the effects are excellent. And it ends obviously with a little justice moment of the kid getting his father, who is the killer. I mean, kind of sad at the same time, but I just love the concept of it. And I love how when they got the videotapes and we were on that side of things, it was very gritty, very like you felt like you were watching a horror movie within a movie. The first time it switched the detective, I was like, no, I don't want to leave it. But then I appreciated it. So this was a really good one. I liked a lot in here. Let me know what you think. I'm going to be talking about the Beyond VHS Beyond, tomorrow or the next day. I'm a little bit behind, and then I have to watch VHS Halloween. So, see you in the next one.